currently sitting backstage on Rob Burnett's Zoom call, the members only stream, but he's not carrying on his channel because he doesn't have Roberto to help out. So I'm going to try and see if we can carry our portion of the conversation on there. So I'm about to shoot my wad as far as how many hours I can broadcast a month. So we're going to sit here and wait here for a while. In the meantime, come up with some topics here. So I'm thinking probably we're discussing the status here, the news about, where the movie stands, the fact that it does look like they ain't getting a contract. And maybe bring up a little project, beginning their project here to make my, my phaser rifle that I designed. Taking, if anybody remembers these old kits here. And that way, not, we get a couple of these guys because I think this is what Jeffrey's is going for, is that the top of these things have a little plug on them. That's how they sit in. If they could go like that, you get the beginnings of things put in stock. Well, I got this little piece here. I'm not sure what this is to stand for something, but it makes a little shoulder stock. And that's always been the odd piece out, the butt stock for the thing. Otherwise, it's all pretty much, combining pieces. So I got the thing going in my head right now, so it's kind of keeping getting distracted. But but after after this, I got to get cracking. So I'm almost done with the kitchen. Let me alert Rosetta about this little idea. Let's see. See if we get, because we might finally be able to get that stream going with the. Hey, bro, yeah, we finally get that stream with me and Rob and Rosetta, at least for a few minutes. We won't be able to keep them for long, but at least we get something on there. And with any luck, this will finally go viral and we'll have fun. Okay. Right now, the membership sits at $13.96, just close to $1,400. But as far as the domestic thing, supposedly we're having an inspection on December 10th in connection with the Section 8 voucher, which was already cut off. Huh? I threw an email at the property manager and said, okay, yeah, we're having them, and then what? Let them squabble for a while. We already cut them off. Why are you doing this? So let's see how that goes here. And there's a discussion going on about Africa and what to do with it. Like, that is actually something. It was the Thomas Sowell thing about why Africa has never developed anything. That has to do with there are no navigable waterways that go in very far. The Nile, yeah, that develops quite a ways in there, and a couple other, but otherwise it's like the waterways get very shallow. You can't go in very far, and it's just like you can't develop it because you can't get in there for the longest time. Now it could, but because there's ways to get around with technology such we can build accessible ways, roads and stuff. But ancient times, it's like that was it. Yeah. So that's about it's like societal evolution as such. You only develop as far as your environment will allow you, and most of Africa has like the conditions that they'd only get to tribal levels. You couldn't develop any technology. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't trade or anything because you couldn't get anywhere. But again, the Nile, such as you could go way in, and they developed all along there. You could do, yeah. And the Mediterranean thing, all around the Mediterranean, you could get around, you could trade, you could exchange ideas, and they developed. They had Greeks and Romans, for God's sakes. Yeah. But well, let's see. Where am I on the list here? I'm not far down the list. I don't think. Where the hell am I? What the hell? Well, there we are. I'm maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in line here, so might be about a half an hour or so. Depends on how well he's watching the clock, though, because he doesn't have Roberto running the clock thing. So this could get weird. This could get wild, and that's why I'm hoping. Let's see how well this would work, though. Let's see. Share screen. Yeah, we can do it. Okay. I would have to drop the chat though. But yeah, let's include the sound. So yeah, we could do that. Keep that in reserve there. So yeah, I can't. Okay. Meanwhile, bro, any questions? Now's your chance. You're the only one watching right now. Well, someone else is coming. Yeah. Now, if I can get a couple more of these guys relatively cheap, then I'll really feel better. Okay, now we can start putting that rifle together. They think it's figuring out how to attach them. There's just two little things I'd have to cobble together. How to attach the things to this sucker here. I have to rig up something, and then attach it on that buttstock. Because let me pull up a picture of what I got here. Because the where are we at? Live TV, gotta love it. Phasers. Although this is all, this is all pictures of actual props, actually. So, oh, here we go. Yeah, this is ultimately what I got in mind here. Oh, I will bring that up. I will definitely bring that up there. I think what I'm hearing though right now is, but like I said, let me pull up what I'm talking about here with the. Get a look at the. Should have a yeah. Here's the pistol, the hand grip on one of the and notice this is how it attached into the body of the phaser. It's a little twist lock that the standard for certain applications. And the thing is, on the bottom of the on the butt end of it, though, here we are. Fairly similar situation there. So I think what Jeffries was thinking at the time was that if you want to boost it, you plug in a second one right underneath it, twist it in there, and boom. So let's carry it further. And actually, let me see. This was because the original drawing is kind of hard to read, so I had to do a bit of a translation. Here's what the notes on here, and this is what okay, let me show the actual picture here, because here's the actual Matt Jeffries drawing. That's a little hard to read, but you go with that. But there was a little bit of a catch in there. We had touched the rifle stock to make a phaser rifle. Let me go ahead. Let me pull out of that. Let's see. Let's see this here. Yeah. I think what they were looking at right now. Well, let's do one before that. Oh no, because Kurtzman did not make a good impression with David Ellison. By working on the two movies, he did not make a good impression there. And then and it doesn't take a whole lot of digging to figure out it's not working. So, let me pull this up because it's getting distracted here with the noise here. But he did not impress with the way he did things on there. And looking at the numbers, like, no, you divided the fan base. When they ran Discovery on CBS, the numbers were practically non-existent. Shows have been canceled in one episode for better ratings than what this thing got. They would have been better at putting up, just old episodes of Gunsmoke that have drawn more audience there. But and also looking at the audience reaction to stuff like Lower Decks, where the older fans go, yes, more of this, and season 3 of Picard, where he had, and again, look at the stuff. He has no creative input whatsoever. That gets response. That gets everyone excited. The stuff he's actively created, it stinks on ice. Because most of Discovery, he was very in on it. Academy, it's not getting good buzz. They're not impressed with it. It's not getting good reactions. And it's pretty, and get, it's for 2 seasons. Yeah, they renewed for second season before they'd really even started filming the first. And they're only 10-episode seasons, so it's still 20 episodes. And it's mainly a bookkeeping thing to justify the cost. Because they've been spending, so you hate to call it like Drunken Sailors because it makes Drunken Sailors look bad. But yeah, it'd probably be a miniseries because Backhoe's the one that got him to cut down from 28 to like 23. It's like, why are we doing so many? You got to cut down a little bit because again, his kids were little at the time. He wanted to spend time at home, and that's another thing they did when shooting stopped promptly at like 6. There were no long days on the. It's like, no, we're done. I'm going home. And by then they'd gotten it down to enough with science. They didn't have to do the 7-8 days, and pick up into the next episode. They were able to got it down so they could do that. But yeah, I could see it doing kind of a mini series type thing, just to kind of wrap up thing. And again, my suggestion to Suspo is like, no, just have Trip just there. Don't explain, don't justify his presence. Oh, I heard you. No, yeah, I get that a lot. No, and just that's it. That's the only reference. Just don't even acknowledge, these are the Voyagers as a thing. Make him part of the cabinet, so he's there all the time. But and the thing is, they have pitched this to the Paramount heads separate from Secret Hideout, and they are interested. But I think they're mainly focused on let's do a big fat reset, and I think that I can justify a movie for that. That's what they're doing there. They're talking about doing a movie to do a reset and get everything back to one coherent timeline. This is coherent as it's ever been. But I don't have my camera on Rob's yet. I don't want to know that I'm actually doing stuff.
Hang on, you're confusing the hunting lives with
No.
hunting party. Pardon me, yes. Oh, am I wrong? Sorry. Well, you know everything. Really? I thought it was a hunting.
Good. Yeah, nobody likes These Are the Voyages, okay? In front of, behind of the, even Berman and Braga have apologized for that one. Okay, we're sorry, we messed up. It was meant to be a the heart was in the right place. It was meant to be a Valentine to the entire show, is the way they described it. And it turned out we're going out as holodeck characters on someone else's show. No one was impressed. Nobody liked that. So they, it's kind of like they have problems wrapping things up. I mean, Voyager Endgame, that one kind of like, wrinkled a few people the wrong. Robert Beltran, we're going out on this. And then that one could have stood one more rewrite. I think it's like I'd have lost the Tuvok has Vulcan Alzheimer's and a couple of things. I would have had the Borg as much more of a threat in the alternate future, justifying Janeway going back. Look, if we had taken out that transwarp hub 20 years ago, we wouldn't be in situations. Well, how about we do that? And that way she goes back, and then you have it's not ambiguous. Yeah, she needs to do this. It's correcting the mistake. It's something they should have done back then. The rest of it would play out pretty much as is. You're complete with the Janeway carrying the virus or whatever, and But it's like, let's see, anything else here? No, I've definitely been, I do take issue whenever he gets on Tachyon Post, whenever he goes into the policy. Don't do that. Okay? Whoops. Hold on. What am I doing down there? So but I've shown that I showed that phaser rifle idea to both B. Joe Trimble and Mike Okuda, and they both said, "Yeah, I think that's where he was going. That's where Matt Jeffries is going." And I think mainly because it would have been cheap. You'd have been using mostly existing phaser parts, that we either would have had on hand or been easy to duplicate. And it also, and with it being extra power packs, these are just, well, that's why it's got the extra power, because you got extra power pack stats in there. And it would have made a nice counterpoint to the special Uncle Gun. Because one thing is, the Star Trek was always kind of chasing Man from Uncle to a certain extent. I think that, it argued that could be the reason why Chekhov became Russian. As their answer to Ilya Kuryakin. Because originally, Walter Koenig was brought in, the character wasn't Russian. He was, an English guy, because they were trying to do their version of Davy Jones and the Monkees. But but Roddenberry, hey, how about we make them? Because the Russians are first in space, and think, we should acknowledge them, And again, their Uncle's doing great guns with David McCallum over there playing Russian. How about we have our answer to that? So let's see. And I am probably third in line here. Let's see. I'm up fifth right now. Yeah, I figure I am, about to blow all my hours here on the free program, so I figure I might as well do it in style. Let's see, do that. Yeah. I don't know how I'd lose that part. Yeah, we'll see where we're on the list here. Okay. But yeah, I think it will talk about what they're probably originally. Then Rob went on a long rant about what he would like to see for the next movie. I think maybe a might discussion of what's probably going to happen with the next movie, and this was what we'd like to see, because he still likes to see someone like Taylor Hackford take a whack at it, or some A-list director. I think the closer we get to an A-list director really to get involved with the Star Trek film these days, it might be Ron Howard. And I'm not really sure if he's still A-list or just high on the B-list. And only because Ron's a hardcore Trekkie. Oh boy, and they talking about some kind of lesbian movie planned there, and I haven't been following that much. Yeah, for some reason. Let's see. Let's get one of these guys. Come on, you. There we go. When they were doing Star Trek 2, they did call Bijo a lot, and they had, can we bring in, because they wanted to, again, part of going to the old stuff. They said, can you bring in an old looking phaser, because they had the next generation, the motion picture ones, which they weren't terribly impressed with. So they brought in one of these, and they weren't terribly impressed with these either. So I think we'll just stick with the ones we got. Because the other stuff they were getting is like, this is ridiculous. They're talking about,
love that.
I think, Catherine Deneuve.
Because that had the extra added height and element
Okay, what do we got here?
of fantasy, vampires and all that. Abound. The Wachowski's bound when you have Jennifer Tilly.
Okay, the one thing about Abrams, with him being a Star Wars guy, it didn't work. It didn't work. It was doomed to failure from the second he said, "I'm never a Star Wars fan or Star Trek fan." But then, but that did give us some hope when he did Star Wars. Like, okay, he's in his element now. Maybe he'll do something good. And it's like on the surface, yeah, but then you went back and wait a minute, that's just a New Hope, beat for beat, and it's like, and not as well. So he really doesn't understand Star Wars either, because he missed all the elements of that one that actually made it work, and it's all pew pews. So I think the bloom is off the J.J. Abrams rose, pretty big. And the fact that the Paramount finally said, "No, we're not doing this anymore," and Warner Brothers is fed up with him too, because he's put out all this shit and it's like they produced virtually nothing. It's cost them millions of dollars and he's produced nothing of use to them. So you're right now discussing American attitudes towards nudity, and let's see how this goes to that. Okay, that didn't do anything. Okay. Like I said, this could be a little while here, but okay. All right, we got a few more people watching for some strange reason. It's because nothing's happening yet, but hopefully it will, because I'm currently backstage at Robert Meyer Burnett's members only chat, which he is not sending out on his YouTube channel because he doesn't have his normal moderator, Roberto. And I'm going to try and see, I'm going to see if he is willing to at least let me carry our portion of it here. So we can finally at least get a piece of a live stream together on my channel. But yeah, but because outside of Star Trek, Kurtzman's an openly acknowledged he's an IP hack when he did his take on Clarice, which I'm sorry, it just strikes me because Brian Fuller did Hannibal to great acclaim. So I just can't help feel that this thing about him doing Clarice was a swipe at Brian Fuller. It's like, I'll take everything you want and make it my own. And it died a very sad, simpering death because it was horrible. It was trashed by the critics left and right. And people, it's Entertainment Weekly just trash Kurtzman left and right and just called him an IP hack. He goes from one property to another and destroys them. Because you talked about with stuff with Transformers. That thing was going down in flames. He killed the Universal Dark Universe in one film. His working on one of the Spider-Man films brought that one to a screeching halt. It's like his track record is not good to those not paying attention. And the only reason he's lasted as long on the Star Trek is because of that goddamn contract that Moonves signed him to, where it's like Discovery, again, we've had to figure out things piecemeal. But it's like pretty much, okay, Discovery was guaranteed 5 seasons. And that's the only that's why it took so damn long to finally put a stake to the heart of that monstrosity. And it's you got to piece it, you got to piece things together here and there with regard to this. Strange New Worlds, that came about because Akiva Goldsman was talked into coming on board because he thought he would be doing stories about a Captain Pike series because he is a fan. I'll give him that much. Not a very attentive one, but he is a fan. He went to conventions back in the 70s, but he wanted to do a Captain Pike series, and that's what he was told he'd be doing with Discovery. And it turned out not so much. It was still the Mikey Spock show with special guest, Captain Pike. It's like, no, they say no. So the slot that Kurtzman thought was going to go to a Section 31 show, Akiva Goldsman basically undercut him and got Strange New Worlds in there. And how he's able to uncut him, it's like that Oscar opens a lot of doors. Even though it was an adaptation of a book, there's something else. Like it wasn't an original work. His original work sucks, but it's very hit or miss at best. But he imagined, and probably the best thing that ever happened to was when Mike McMahon managed to sneak his way in to do. Oh yeah, Kurt. Moonves wanted to pull the plug on Enterprise after season 3, but Kerry McCluggage was still around enough. He was in on the development shows. He's a big supporter. He's at least give us 1 season to wrap it up. Don't, because season 3 is ending on a cliffhanger. Okay, it was the shuttle pod being attacked by a couple of P-51 Mustangs. No, we need to wrap this up. Okay, fine. 1 year, wrap it up. But that was a case of. Enterprise would have had to set records in ratings for it to be saved from Moonves. He was going to cancel it come hell or high water. He wanted it gone. He hates science fiction. He really hates Star Trek. God knows why. Because there's certain, So, no. Enterprise did not fail. Enterprise was assassinated, okay? And that's kind of what think. No, let's give it another shot. Let's wrap things up properly, and especially drive a stake through the heart of These Are the Voyages. But that's one that really, a simple change on that one would have saved that episode by not trying to shoehorn it into the Pegasus. If they had changed it into Riker's, deciding whether or not to accept command of the Titan, that would have worked. You wouldn't have been constrained by what we saw in the Pegasus, which there's no time whatsoever for Riker to go running up to the holodeck to play Let's Pretend with Archer and the crew on a badly written holodeck program. And that, that's the thing. The holodeck stuff is excusable because they didn't write it right. There's even a line by Marina. You sure they wrote this thing right? There's your out. They didn't write it right. There's a lot of stuff they didn't take into account. They didn't get the uniforms right. There's no. The ship hadn't been refit. It's just wrong. But if they had just changed that and not try and tie it into during the the series, because Jonathan Frakes is held up. Marina Sirtis has visibly aged. She still looks fine, but has visibly aged since the Pegasus. So trying to think that's still part of the same episode, no, doesn't work. But yeah, it's just certain things. It's going to take a while. There's too much stuff in the pipeline to work out first, and part of it is Kurtzman. But though the Academy's got to run, but that's going to be it. They've been told off the lot by Christmas, and it's like Strange New Worlds, you got 6 episodes last season, so a total of 46 episodes, which by comparison puts it up just past the midway point of the second season of the original series. So they're trying, oh, we got 5 seasons. Well, you got 46 episodes. Yeah. And, you know, certain on Academy, we got 2 seasons. Yeah, 20 episodes. It's not even about 2/3 of the first season of the original series. It's like, no, go play that somewhere else. Lower Decks by comparison, that one could have been still been running. Paramount didn't cancel it. Alex Kurtzman canceled it because he's a petty little man and can't, you know, accept somebody else being successful with something that, you know, that he's supposed to be in charge of it. Instead of sitting back and taking credit for it, no, we're going to pull the plug on that one because people like that show. But Mike McMahon, being the sneaky little devil he is, I mean, you know, Rick and Morty, you learn a little deviousness. That little scene, that little 2-second clip in the last episode where the Klingon turns into a Discovery Klingon, there's our out right there. Discovery's an alternate timeline. There's your proof. Now, he's not saying, but he said he knew exactly what the reaction would be when he did it. Because he's a fanboy like the rest of us, but I think he wants to keep working too, so he's not going to confirm it. But he knew exactly what he was doing. And that was then a nice little Christmas present. Okay, here we go. Here's your route. But I could definitely see on the, you know, this would be something for the lawyers to work up, but I'm sure they could work out some way based on the animated series deal, which got it away from Filmation. So just give us Lower Decks. Buy out, you know, Secret Hideout share of that. And then we're back to the races here. I don't think you can really call it Lower Decks because none of them are on the lower deck. They've all got their own quarters now. They're lieutenants and stuff. They're moving up. Mariner and Boimler are now, you know, co-first officers, which is a weird thing. But then the Cerritos is a weird ship. Yeah, it might be good to have a couple of co-executive officers so they can, you know, they get different, you know, different views, you know, on the thing, in a new situation. Mm. Okay, so and I miss what they're talking about. I think it's something about one of the Predator movies, I think. I was talking about a Predator movie. I think Prey. But, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. It's going to be interesting trying to keep this on track because he's going, you know, on here. So, all right. Yeah, that thing. It was a little parting shot. Oh, really? You're going to cancel that show? I'm going to cancel your whole fucking universe. Hi. This thing is just like, okay, fine. I'll pull down your whole damn franchise. And that's if they had just the whole insist. Oh, it's Prime bullshit. Okay, we have seen this period. Okay, because the way it comes out, it's between the cage and where no man has gone before. We've seen this period. We saw what the Enterprise looked at the start of it, and we saw the Enterprise looked at the end of it. It didn't look like the Disco Prize in between. They didn't wear those uniforms in between. They wore the same uniforms on either end. So I was like, no, not working. And there's people on the Enterprise they got there that do not belong there. People who should be there that aren't. Dr. Boyce, where the hell is he? How about why is Uhura anywhere near that ship?
No, because you're saying that the
She shouldn't be on that ship. Certainly, I don't care if she's just a cadet. No,
I mean that based off of the
she should probably still be at the academy at the most. Probably still high school. But Dr. Mbenga, and when he was introduced in Let That in at the Private Little War, the implication was that he had just come on board. Kirk had no idea who he was. McCoy had to, do the introduction. Oh yeah, he came out. He was in the Vulcan ward for him. So it's like, no, that doesn't work. But they had to have a black character on there, and the original cast of the Cage was very white. Okay, you had one Asian guy in the transporter room working alongside Chief Pitcairn. Was That's another thing in case of Roddenberry, that little magpie mind. Just hold on to a good name because, again, I'm not really struck. We can wander a bit. Discovery that Mission Log podcast discovered that everyone figured that the Lieutenant was the first created by Gene Roddenberry show. No, it wasn't actually. There was a mid-season thing called Wrangler. Did a few years earlier. It was an ABC thing. It was during this summer hiatus of the Ford show, put on by Ford Motor Company, hosted by Tennessee 74. But they went on, summer hiatus, and they put on this little short run thing, Wrangler, the Western, by Gene Roddenberry. It's not in the listings anywhere, but they found this thing. They found some of the tapes. They actually found the pilot too. They were surprised there. They didn't think they could, but they found just about all the episodes and the tapes. And this is while he's still writing for Have Gun Will Travel. And the theory going right now is this was never is just a mid-season thing. No promise we're going to pick it up later, but if it takes off, we'll talk. But as it is, we're just going to fill a gap here because I'm thinking the Ford show probably wasn't conducive to reruns very well. It was a variety type thing. So I was like, let's try this. ABC was a new network, relatively speaking, so they were willing to experiment. And oh boy, did Gene have a lot to learn at that point because the main character named Pitcairn, he was a serious Gary Sue. Okay, this guy was perfect. The ladies loved him. The men feared he could do it. He was perfect on the inside. Really, the sexism ran deep on this one. It's like it was kind of cringy in certain spots. And so he learned quite a bit. I think also because he didn't have story editors or producers that no, we can't. You can't do that. That's over the top. He was the one in charge here, so it's like that was all him. And it's like no, it's like go back to Have Gun Will Travel. You need to percolate a little bit more because Paladin, as good as he was not a perfect character. He had his flaws. He had his dark sides. But this guy, Pitcairn, was, oh, yeah, he is God's gift to mankind and womankind, too, But it's also a case, remember, of bringing back previous cast members. Producers do this all the time, and directors, where they bring back people they've worked with before. Susan Oliver was the main female lead in this in the pilot of Wrangler, and so if you go through it and like, wow, we got him to show up on the Cage, and convinced her to paint her green. So, but it's like you see a lot of and also there was a very good pilot he did, APO 924, the World War II thing. centered on these three characters. James T. Irvine was the stalwart hero, reluctant guy. The pilot shows him, turning down a medal because he was kind of PTSD'd about the nature of the fight. He had to pretty much take this guy on hand to hand and kill him, and so he didn't feel right taking a medal. And he gets chewed up. But look, swallow your pride and take the damn medal, you Gloria. And two other characters, a B-17 pilot named Pike, captain. I didn't catch the first name. I don't know if it was Chris or not, but and a PT boat commander, played by Pat Harrington, named Edward Jellicoe. That's the thing. He comes on a good name. He'll hang on to it for a while. That's kind of why I wasn't surprised when Andromeda came along. They named the captain Dylan Hunt. Well, yeah, I knew that was from Genesis too. What it didn't occur was with the Andromeda was really more than just borrowing a name. It really was smashing the two concepts together. Because there was something he's working on in the early 70s called Starship. There's going to be the voyages of a sentient starship and its crew. And then Genesis 2, where you got Dylan Hunt, scientist, is suspended animation. Some disaster happens. He stays in the deep freeze a lot longer than when he comes out. The world is totally changed. Put them both together. Dylan Hunt is now the captain of the Andromeda Ascendant. He gets caught on the event horizon of a black hole, suspended in time for a few hundred years. And when they finally pull it out, the world has changed. He's all alone, Well, he was in a couple. I don't think the police story pick that was Roddenberry's. But I don't think the 333 Montgomery thing, I don't think that was Roddenberry's. That was somebody else. But, yeah, he tried getting, D. Kelly all along. Again, he was still very much typecast as a heavy in Westerns and stuff. So, and it took that police story pilot for them to, okay, now we see him as a doctor. He was like McCoy, and, medical examiner, and grousing everybody. It's like, give me that thing. There we go. I think because they don't respect the material. They think it's just another property. They can do with what they want. They're treating it like the comic books, where they do research all the damn time. It's like, how many X-Men #1 are there now? It was stupid back in the 90s when it's I still got friends of mine who like comics. And I was talking to one Dave. It was at the Lakewood store, and now they're all pulled back to one store. But I had some guy call up. How much is X-Men #1? And I looked it up, and the original series. It's about a few $1,000s. Oh yeah, which cover? He's talking about the 90s one with 5 different covers. It's like, no, that's worth about $2. Okay, because we got several tons of those in the warehouse. But they're talking about the various properties that have been trashed out. The Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who. That's something. Dave Cullen. Dave Cullen? Well, yeah, I think no. Make sure I got those names are right, but he said the same thing I've been saying. The point to fix the point in time to fix Doctor Who from is Peter Capaldi's regeneration. Just go back to that scene and have him regenerate into somebody else. Spin off the whole Jodie Whittaker, Chris Chibnall, and everything that fell from that into an alternate whatever. It just never happened, whatever, and just have him regenerate into like Michael Sheen with a new, showrunner and something, and carry on from there. Because the only way you're really going to fix that show is to completely eliminate the Chibnall era and the Timeless Children. That destroyed the show right there, that one episode. And trying to paper it over with what they've done that doesn't work. It's just made a total hash of it. Russell Davis is not the same person he was when he started the show, when he got this reboot going back in like 2005. He's much more, agenda driven now. It's like they're talking Republican. I don't want to get into that. And they're hashing out about where's the okay. We don't want to get off on a rant on Obamacare, please. Get this thing out of the way here. But okay. Now I think I'm so many things going on. I gotta, because this is distracting me too much. I'm too much of a wonk. Okay. But certain things. So many, behind the scenes mechanism, of Star Trek could be nuts, more than anything on screen. Like when the legend of the fan letter campaign to save the show for after the second season. Yes, it was real. It happened. How many letters got sent in is open for debate. It's also a question of where those letters went. I think as far as what went to the network, the estimate is around 100,000, really, which is still way ahead of any other. The most any other show had ever gotten to that point was like 3,000. So it still blows the doors off any other, support of any other show. Where it gets to, a million of letters are sent. I think that would be if you factor in all the local stations that got mail and the studio getting mail. I think when you factor all that in, okay, then I think we're getting to 1 million. But it's also when Gulf Western bought up Paramount and Desilu, smashed them together into Paramount Studios. It was around that time that the syndication deal was signed. They didn't have to go hunting after the third season. They already had it in locked in before the end of the second season with Kaiser Broadcasting. So the letter writing campaign really didn't matter that much. It was a nice gesture. But I think even Shatner said they really didn't have anything to replace it with at that point. And there was, but it's going about tariffs. And, tariffs worked very well, Rob. Back in the 19th century, we had no income tax. We had tariffs. We had more money we know what to do with. That's what he's trying to get back to. But yeah, syndication deal was already set up. And that actually is a factor in what we saw in the third season. They already had the syndication deal set up. So they didn't want to have to spend more money on this thing. They saw just finish out the run and get this thing off get it off the books, and and there we go. It's like, now if if Roddenberry had agreed to come back and line produce the show, then I think the quality could have been maintained. we wouldn't have the major clunkers that we had in that season. And we wouldn't have had the turnover in sets. Dorothy Fontana wouldn't have left. Bob Justman wouldn't have been. Frankly, Bob Justman should have been made line producer. He had earned that position. He'd been there since the first pilot. He should have been. So really, Roddenberry did kind of do him dirty there. But if they, kept maintained the quality of the show, the ratings were, still middling to whatever, But something was also pointed out. It's like it wasn't, and Roddenberry was screaming at the time in the making of Star Trek, the final chapter, Wither Star Trek. That's where I got the title on that episode of History of Star Trek. He was complaining about that. They had already gotten the news. It'd be on Friday nights at 10. And that's a death slot. We're going to die. And it's like, well, no, not necessarily. One, the Man from U.N.C.L.E. got put in that slot when it was floundering, and it turned into it shot to number 13. It became a hit. And it's the same demographic breakdown as Star Trek. And yes, they were using demographics back then. This didn't just magically appear in 1970. They were aware of demographics back in the 60s. Whether or not they were using them properly, that's another issue. But they were aware of them. They know who was watching. It wasn't just raw numbers. But also, the Monday night slot that Roddenberry was asking for, that would have been a kamikaze slot because they've been going up against Gunsmoke on CBS and the Avengers on ABC. And staggering it half hour like they were doing it, it's like that wouldn't have worked because nobody's going to tune out halfway through Gunsmoke or halfway through the Avengers to go watch Star Trek at that time. And the thing is, they would have been like going up against the second half of Gunsmoke and the Lucy Show. How's that for irony? Going up against their old boss. So no, that they would have been walking into a meat grinder if they'd gone on Monday nights. And I don't know if anybody explained that to Gene at the time, but I was like, no. Laugh In worked because you're not going to the same audience. Because with Laugh In, you're not going for the action adventure audience. So you'll let Gunsmoke and the Avengers fight over those guys. We're going for the people who want to laugh. And I think also they like working with George Slaughter better than they like Roddenberry. But going through looking at the 68-69 schedule, like, there really wasn't any other place to put Star Trek. Maybe they could have kept it earlier in the evening, like it was, season 2. But there really wasn't any other place to put that show. Yeah, I think Ron Howard would be. I think he would do one. I think he could use a booster's career. His output lately has been, but he's been a hardcore fan. Maybe partially because his little brother Clint was, was Baylock, and has also been. He keeps showing up on episodes here and there. He's like the good luck charm. But I remember on the Mike Douglas show, both Ron and Clint were on there, and Ricardo Montalban came out. I don't think Wrath of Khan was on the horizon yet. He was just there. And Ron started gushing about Khan and Space Seed, about their heart. It's probably the first time that anybody brought up Star Trek to Ricardo Montalban in a few years. Oh, yeah, everybody. Oh, and they're gone on about. Gone on about the new ballroom. And, Look at if you want to comment here. He's trying to talk now. Yeah. So I had to put in a comment. We cannot be expected to be taken seriously on the world as a nation on the world stage, putting on state dinners in a fucking tent. And as far as private donations, when President Ford put in a swimming pool, that was all private donations. Another thing is, frankly, I think Trump should be applauded for not sticking the bill to the taxpayers on this thing. It's something we've been needing for. Teddy Roosevelt wanted a ballroom. They've been pushing this thing for really before him, for 150 years. We're trying to get a proper ballroom in there so they can hold state dinners, be taken seriously by the world. I mean, the main the main dining hall at Windsor Palace is about as big as the entire White House, for God's sakes, okay? I saw a video about the construction of this thing. It's got security measures out the wazoo. It's not just a big bandstand. It's got all kinds of security measures. So yeah, why you're not seeing plans? That shit's classified out the ass. Okay, that's why you're not going to see anything, beyond just general scale. Yeah, it's about yay big, yeah. You got a viewing room up here. The bathrooms are over there. But beyond that, you ain't going to see shit because you don't need to. I think I'm pretty sure I still got a secret clearance. I ain't going to see it. Okay, I don't even need to see this crap. I'll let them handle that because we're talking about the blown of the boats in there. No, we have intelligence resources. Rob, we know these boats are doing what they're doing. They're not powering across the Gulf of Mexico in the middle of the night because they want to go fishing. Okay. And one of the reasons they're doing boats now is because they can't get across the border as easily. I'm not going to get into that with them because it doesn't end well. I'm going to try and keep it on Star Trek. Okay. And Major Chai is chiming in because you're actually legitimately a former major, I think, in the Air Force. Okay. Oh boy, definitely not going into the sedition charges. Oh man, we didn't lose much with his resignation. Oh yeah, and Darth Plato. How is this campaign different in America striking the Barbary pirates? Look at that. Well, we'll save the lecture for Rob for yeah. You got, and this has been as long as there's been high-ranking officers. Some of them are there because of they accomplished great things in the battlefield and the great leaders. Other ones are because it's purely political. They're used as a stepping stone to higher things, eventually to run for office. They're not worth a damn as officers. Okay. Ike was kind of in the middle there. He was a decent leader, but he was also very political. Yeah. Mark Milley, purely political thing. Guy. Well, he didn't have a lot of medals. He didn't have a lot of ribbons. I think I almost had as many ribbons. I got out of E4. But all right, I'm gonna leave that off here. Major Chai Chai is coming up. This should be interesting. But yeah, the syndication deal that was already set up before the end of the second season. When they started, distributed by Paramount and off the desert little logo at the end. Yeah, they'd already had it in, so it's like they're just, as far as they're concerned, you're just finishing out the season. Don't worry about maintaining the quality. So just crank out the content, get it done, get it off the books. We can rent those stages out somewhere else and stop paying for this money pit, of Roddenberry. I think, like third season of Sequest, same thing. They did that third season for the syndication package to fill it out so they can, get reruns going. All righty. Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm trying not to be gaps here, but I'm hearing stuff coming in. All right. So let's see, and I do need to do something in here for the bump one. The one of the things, I got to pull everything like 3 feet away from the wall. You would not be able to get in here if I pulled everything 3 feet away from the wall. I'd be blocking the door. Okay. So I think if I can at least clear out access to the side, the wainscoting down here, sideboard. That should have that. As far as the bedroom, the bugs really aren't much of a presence there. I'm not worried about that, but at least pile everything up on the bed, But the main action is the kitchen, the bathroom, anyway. So there's like, guys, just bomb the hell out of that. Okay, we'll see what happens. and then still, we got to figure out where the hell we're going to go for what. Because original thing about, okay, we can just hang out at the bowling alley for what. Well, thing is, my phone bill hit today, so we got no money to go anywhere. So we may just be sitting out by the basketball court for a few hours. Thankfully, it's going to be a sunny day. If I can find the charger for the laptop, it'll do something there. Probably need to clean this table off anyway. So. But let's see. But it's like I know it's like The attitude of the exterminators is like, oh, you gotta get rid of all this stuff. I'm not getting rid of all of our food or the medical supplies out there. We can't just, we can't just chuck it, okay? Especially not with them cutting back the EBT card to like $24. I'm going to see a correction on that one at some point. I think that's a result of the shutdown. It's like just something to keep everything online here and then fix it later. But this should be interesting here. Okay, all right. Yeah, and any questions, come on in. Let's see if we're gonna. Everything's happening over here. Back over here. Now, Ron Howard doing a Star Trek movie would be interesting. It would be very, But let's see. What else have we got to show off here? Because one guy said he was building me a phaser rifle and trying to send it to me, but nothing ever happened for it. But yeah, in here that just lines up too well with that twist socket where because the way it goes is that you kind of at an angle and then twist it. It's a lock, socket type thing. That just lines up too well for that not to be what they were thinking. Otherwise, why even have it? And it would be fun to get a couple of hero props and test that out. I figure that had to have been what Jeffries was thinking when he designed the thing. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah. Oh, there's something else. I was into paper models for a while. And I got one actually of a paper of a phaser. That could be a way to at least do a test of how well this would work. So that could be interesting. Okay, so let's see. Let me find something else I can move on to here. Yeah, well, up on my stuff. Because it kind of goes the whole thing of whether or not NBC really believed in Star Trek. Let me turn the banners off for a bit here. One of the ideas they were looking at was a Harry Mudd spinoff. Harry Mudd Space Pirate. You know, it was, you know, it wasn't considered very long. It didn't even. Roger C. Carmel didn't even find out about it until years later. He ran to Roddenberry at a party. Oh yeah, we were talking about a spinoff for you back in the day. Oh gee, thanks for telling me. So this also goes against the whole thing about, you know, Star Trek is not a. Roddenberry had no problem with comedy in Star Trek. That's one of Gene Coon's selling points, the fact that he could bring in comedy at an appropriate level. The fact that they were actually seriously considering a Harry Mudd, you know, spinoff. This was not going to be a serious show, okay, by any stretch of the imagination. That's one thing I would like to, you know, drive a stake to the heart of is the idea that it was, you know, that really comes from Fred Freiberger when he was brought in, because that's the thing. Actually, right, and I hear about, you know, Star Trek's not a comedy. That was what he told David Gerald when he first met him. I thought, yeah, I saw your episode. Star Trek's not a comedy. We're not doing it. Never mind the fact that Roddenberry had already said he wanted to do a sequel to it. More Troubles, More Troubles. That's where it came from. That was going to be a 4-season episode. Mm-hmm. Hold on. Yeah, Major Chacha. If I start talking about military stuff, I'm going to have to break out my teaching materials. But where were we? Hold on. Get back to the comments. But no, Gene. In fact, when I heard, a piece of the action was originally a much darker episode. I think the original pitch was sort of more of a film noir thing, and probably playing off of the. In the original pitch, Roddenberry had a lot of just 1 or 2 line story ideas. One of them was called President Capone, or imagine a world where the Chicago gangs took over. And what came back, I get when this thing was kind of a, you know, more of a gangster thing, where, you know, kind of, I said, more film noir. And Roddenberry handed it off to Gene Coon, saying, lighten this up. This is too dark, you know. And it turned into, you know, a bit of a, you know, a farce. You know, and let Shatner and Nimoy show their comedic skills. Because that's one thing Shatner loves, doing comedy. That's why, you know, Denny Crane and, you know, shit, my dad said he wants to, you know. And the guy they brought in, Jimmy Comack, is a comedy director. He mostly sitcoms. There's an interview for his Inside Star Trek, you know, video thing. He said my list of credits is longer than your arm, but, you know, but he mainly did comedies and stuff. You know, he's a stand-up comedian himself back in the day. But when he do normally when he came in to do a dramatic show, he gets stuff like, oh, I only get shot from this side and everything. I mean, Star Trek, totally opposite. No, you know, it's like Shatner was dying to, you know, comedic skills, and said Nimoy is like another Jerry Lewis. And said, you know, no, shoot up my nose, whatever makes it funnier. You know, said, go for it. You know, so he loved working on that one. And also talking about just the fans. Is that when they'd ask him, you know, they tell him who he is, and it's like, oh, Jimmy, piece of the action. They know the show. He wouldn't have to go in there. They'd know, you know, oh yeah, you directed Piece of the Action. They don't know shit about, you know, the Dan Thomas show or anything else he's done. But they know Piece of the Action. So it's like, yeah, these guys know their stuff. You know, I got a line, 1 or 2 more of these guys. And actually, there's also a place just not far from here where one of the things they have is a the 3D printer, apparently. I'm not sure what the hell that is. This one, the second one, came with a uniform. I only got it for the phaser. But apparently added a piece on there, so that doesn't belong there. But I would like to get an unbuilt kit. Take it down there, scan it, print, and start printing up copies. Now I can go a little nuts on kit bashing them together and making a rifle out of it. Somehow they got into Bob Fosse now in the discussion. I don't know what's going on. But we got a bug. Had a bug. All right. I should have watched Cabaret one of these days. I remember when it was a big deal. Liza Minnelli got the Oscar and all that. Or also think about Classy Chicago. Love that one. But during the Broadway run of that, I think it was Cheetah Rivera had to bow out for illness. And Liza Minnelli was friends with a lot of the cast. She'd been, and offered to step and fill in for a while Cheetah's out. And warning out there, don't make a big announcement. Just say at the beginning thing, the part of, I'm blanking on the name of the character, but Cheetah Rivera went up, and said, we played by Miss Liza Minnelli, and the crowd goes. And at first, it's like, the night tonight, the part with Billy by Liza Minnelli. It's like, yes, and they just went. They had fun with the thing while Cheetah was out. Also, the part of Billy Flynn that was originally played on Broadway by Jerry Orbach. And he was still around at the time, so he understood why they went with Richard Gere. They went to, but it would have been nice to get one last crack at Billy, And I think it would have worked. I think it would have worked fine because Billy Flynn was supposed to be an older character. Now, while Richard Gere was completely gray hair by then, I think that little edit thing of Jerry Orbach, and having played the character before, so that you don't have to teach him material, he knows it. But it's like something to me along those lines worth tracking down if anybody's interested was a straight non-musical version of that movie called Roxy Hart with Ginger Rogers. Just a straight telling of the story. Everything's there, just doesn't have the musical numbers. But that's a good thing. Some noise going on outside. I'm not sure what's going on. But see, we're going here. So we got Major Chai Chai, Victoria E, and then me. So I figured another 15 minutes we should be able to get in there. James? Again, this will probably be it for his live stream for a while because I think I'm about to use up if I haven't already used up my hours for broadcasting for streaming for this month. because I'm being on the free plan. You're limited to 24 hours per month, and I think I've pretty much blown that today, waiting to get on here. So honestly, it's going to be going out in a blaze of glory here.
And on all the aliens are apparently Japanese, and they're wearing their black and silver outfits. The hot Japanese girl, there's the controller.
Again, hopefully, he'll agree. It's like, okay, can I put you on my channel for a while? Can we finally do that live stream even for a few minutes? And I go, save it, clip it, put it up, on its own, separate from all this stuff. They're talking about Japanese kaiju movies now. It's always a wide-ranging discussion we're talking about, Rob. You can go anywhere. Now, there's a heated discussion about the White House ballroom, about where's the Republican plan for healthcare? They're working on it. Okay, there's plenty of everyone's got a plan. That's something Ross Perot said. There's plans. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting somebody's plan. It's like not all of them are good. You got to sift through a lot of crap to get to the good stuff there.
I'm like, that's exactly where we have an aircraft carrier. Yes, it's carrying Kong on its deck. That's the way it is.
Like,
but in that movie, like when you have a submarine system that goes from Miami to
I don't think I would try and transport Kong on an aircraft carrier. That would not do good for the balance. I think it'd be better with. I think actually, I've seen it was. I think it was supposedly the sequel they tried to make to Dino De Laurentiis's, Kong movie, King Kong Returns. I think that was it. But I remember one where he was being transported inside of a super tanker. That makes a little more sense, I think, especially with like just in the tank. Just open the top, put them in, because it's not top heavy on there. It's down and below. It's not going to capsize the ship if you rolls over in his sleep. Mm-hmm. Okay, he was following the chat. He just commented on my comment. I said the belly was super tanker makes more sense inside of the movie because it wasn't the original Dino De Laurentiis movie, which ties in because there was an oil company that discovered Kong Island in the first damn place. All right. Wait. Cancel that. Let's look at it first. I'm going to keep that. Now, one thing I'm kind of got my eye on. Actually, I still need to look at that because it's been crazy. How many years? That was before we were homeless, actually. So I need to dig that out and go through that. But life has been rather chaotic lately. So. And what's going on over here? Listen, I'm pretty sure I still have the files. And as far as my current email, I think it's a email address. But let me check. Hold on. Do a quick dig here. Storage and stuff. Vortex, yeah, right here. Yeah, I got them. I still got them. So. Got their own folder. I'm waiting to. I'm in line right now behind stage at a Zoom call right now, the Zoom meeting right now. I'm like I'm like third in line behind the current guy right now who's talking to him. So, and hopefully he'll agree to say, okay, we go and throw you on my channel for a bit, so we can finally get that thing. Okay, that's okay. That'd be good. I will warn you. I will probably be brutal in my assessment, though. Okay. All right. What do we got here? And they're talking Godfather stuff here. All right. Yeah, definitely got to try and keep it focused, which can be difficult because one thing both Rob and I can do, we will go off on tangents, and God knows where we'll wind up. Okay, it's like start off just going out to get a burger and wind up in Timbuktu. Okay, Okay. Okay. I mentioned, some guy. A flying dog with cape is verisimilitude. I thought, crypto was miscast. Yeah. All righty. So we're just waiting right now. Okay. Well, no, Rob definitely cares. He cares. He went on like an hour and a half rant on the, what should be happening with the next movie. So we're still going. That's what I'm hoping for. We can still get a holy tear going here. But let's put it this way. We still care about Star Trek. Star Trek doesn't care about us anymore. Okay. There used to be a concern about what the fans are. Now it's just product now. It's just content. That's what drove Discovery from me. It's just content for the streaming service. Someone's going to watch it at some point. It's like, but eventually it's like, no one's watching this. And it started bringing down the entire brand. Not only are they not watching Discovery and not watching streaming, they're not watching the original show anymore. They're not watching Next Gen. They're not buying the stuff. I saw Star Trek figures on the clearance rack at Walmart for the first. I never thought I would see that. Never thought I'd live to see the day a Star Trek figure on a clearance rack. And this is con. It's like, it wasn't even like one of the JJ stuff, but that stuff started on the clearance racks. Nobody cared about that stuff. But yeah, the JJ's made a big thing, just bringing down the entire brand. I think there's so much in your face there. Well, yeah, they've already announced the next movie will not be a Kelvin Universe movie. That's done. We're not, they're not going there anymore. Okay, now we're getting a major chai. Oh boy, this will be fun. Oh, somewhat Lego Death Stars. Right? Yeah, I think she got a Lego Death Star or something. So I need to, But no more JJ, and by all accounts, no more Kurtzman. He's not getting a renewal on the contract. They've got a proposal, a possible offer, but it's like they haven't even put that forward. It's like, no, we're not even going to entertain the idea. So they will, cut it loose. No more JJ trick at all. No more Kurtzman trick at all. And the movie, and I think what they're planning is the movie is going to be, this is the restart point. This is where we stake our period. This is where we're at. We are, building off of this timeline here, the original timeline from Enterprise, where Enterprise left off. But actually, I think it's like not necessarily on that. It's going to be about the same, about same time period as Picard season 3, but it won't be going off of Picard season 3. It's just that particular year, that part of the timeline. But it'll be an original story with them. And next gen characters show up, it'll be based on next gen. It won't be based on what we saw in Picard. So it will be, like, okay, we're putting things back together here. We're losing the barnacles of JJ Trek and Kurtzman Trek, and no, that's it. We're done. And I think there was some talk about folding Star Trek United in with Hawley's Star Trek Origins movie. Well, I think what they're gonna do, if they're smart, Doug Drexler and Makuta and other ones will be getting a call. Okay, time to come back to work, boys. We're getting the band back together. We're going to try and get this thing straightened out. So we're going to get, we're going to right the ship before it totally goes over the falls. But yeah, I think what I'm probably going to do is snip out this first couple hours for the line here. Well, Berman is pretty much retired by now. I don't think it'd be much. I think it'd keep him online as an advisor. But Braga's my age, and if Ron Moore is available, yeah, bring him in. I think he's still tied up with For All Mankind. But again, I'm actually in favor. I minor bit of fame, post of mine on the AOL message boards that said, yes, Brandon Braga is the Antichrist. I have pictures. I have forgiven him somewhat because I know better where he was coming from at the time. He wasn't a big fan, but he wasn't totally ignorant of it, and he was. Let's be honest, the slam that Star Trek is the McDonald's of sci-fi. It's not inaccurate. It is an entry-level point. It is not the pinnacle of science fiction on television. He was more in the Twilight Zone and Outer Limits, which did shoot a little higher. Mainly because they were from an earlier period, back when TV did shoot a little higher. Because it goes and there's reasons for it. Because back then, TVs were expensive. So the people who bought TVs and watched TVs expected a little more entertainment value on there and something more, Oh, I've had issues with Brackett. That's why he cut me off on AOL for a while, because I called him on a few things. But it's like, the kind of stuff you could talk about on TV. Back in the 50s and stuff, you could do some pretty highbrow commentary stuff because they were shooting for a higher bracket level in the audience. TVs were not cheap. You had to have money to get a TV. So you're doing the Playhouse 90 and the Alcoa and the plays and kind of lots of some biting commentary. And the comedy holds up better in the Sid Caesar than it did stuff 20 years later. Because it was shooting for a higher level there. Well, again, I'm not declaring Star Trek dead just yet, but it is on life support right now. But it's kind of like when Roddenberry did The Lieutenant. If anything, he was a little behind the times. If the show had been just a few years earlier, there probably wouldn't have been any problem, even with the episode to set it right. Because racism was a big thing, and they probably would have gone. They might have still had problems with the Marines. Because the big gripe on that one was they portrayed as racism within the Marine Corps. They wouldn't, but there probably wouldn't have been as much blowback from the network on anything. The network would have gone to bat for them. But I think by the mid '60s, it was less of a front burner issue. Let's put it that way. It didn't feel like it needed to be pushed that much. They were already running. The Civil Rights Act was already on its way to being signed. It was already pretty much, okay, yeah, this is wrong. We're starting to correct things here and there. A lot of the commentaries, like your comment stuff, it's already been asked and answered, counselor. Move on. So, but he did hit on things like, because one of the authors that Roddenberry liked was Jonathan Swift. And Gulliver's Travels is full of biting social commentary. And that's one thing, if I put these stories with little pink polka dot people on another planet, they'll fly right by, And I don't think the networks were that dumb to think, I was just talking about. No, I think they bought it, but it gave them plausible deniability. Because again, the network people, they're good meaning, left leaning liberals, too. They believe a lot of the same things. They were against the war, they're now mass marketing. TVs are cheap now. More people are watching. Not everyone's a left wing Democrat now is watching, so you got to balance that out. Half the country thought Nixon should have been president instead of Kennedy. Okay, so it's like, they're proper progressives, but they're also not stupid. They know they want to keep the gravy train going. So it's like with Star Trek, they could, they make, we're fine with that. Go with it. And the fact that it's pink polka dot people on another planet, that gives us cover. Go for it. I don't think they had any problem with Nichelle Nichols on the bridge. Okay. Because there was a push to get more minorities on TV, Diane Carroll got her own show in a couple of years with Julian in '67. So again, a lot of it was Roddenberry puffing himself up as the great hero. It's like, but yeah. Or the Dragon, I think Gravy Train. think the old dog food commercials.
Well, that's good. That Mr. Reyes says he's pretty cool and support. So he says
So let me go ahead and put this question in. I mean, I also think the tagline, the pitch line, "Wagon Train to the Stars." It wasn't really talking about wagon trains. It was referring to the show Wagon Train, and even then, it was mainly because Wagon Train was considered quality television. They had big name guest stars on that show that would show up. So it was really more of a thing to it's going to be continuing characters moving through a situation, and we'll meet guest stars along the way. That was really it. And beyond that, beyond that, the analogy kind of falls away because and it was a way to get your foot in the door type of thing. It was and that's kind of what happened with the Cage, because it wasn't the shoot 'em up space western that he had promised. It was a more thoughtful thing, more piece, but more akin to fantasy over a forbidden planet than than that. But again, there was a lot of stuff in between that. NBC they picked that script specifically because they figured this would be the hardest one to pull off. They were not enthusiastic about working with Roddenberry again after all the nonsense that went on with the Lieutenant. So it's kind of like, if you can pull this off, we'll talk. And the script is pretty much the same thing as what showed up on screen. I've got an earlier version where the captain's name is James Winter, but it's the same script. and they turned it in, and it's like, there's okay. Well, actually, he kind of did it. And so you got a phone call between Mort Warner and Herb Solo. It's okay. Herb, we're kind of embarrassed because we kind of sandbagged you. We picked that one because it was the hardest one, and you guys actually pulled it off. So we're not sure what to do yet. And Herb comes back. How about a second pilot then? Okay, great. That was all. It wasn't unprecedented. It wasn't, it didn't shake the rafters of Hollywood. They'd done second pilots for as long as there's been television. In fact, early on in the late 40s, there was a show that went through 5 pilots. Okay. Lots of shows before then, and between then and Star Trek went through multiple pilots. In fact, at the time, they were getting ready to do Where No Man Has Gone Before. Desilu was preparing a second pilot of a sitcom for NBC. And it merited a minor note in Variety. It was like third or fourth paragraph. Oh, by the way, Desilu's doing a second Star Trek along with this show for NBC. So not only Bob Justman was it not unprecedented, it did not send shockwaves to the thing. It wasn't even unprecedented for Desilu and NBC. They were doing the same damn thing at the same damn time. And again, other shows have gone through multiple since then. All in the Family went through 2 or 3. And the Dick Van Dyke Show is probably the most famous one other than Star Trek, because originally it was Carl Reiner as Rob Petrie. And it was a single camera thing instead of a 3 camera with an audience. was the same setup. TV writer trying to balance the family and these crazy characters, but total cast change and a forming. And again, Dick Van Dyke was an up and comer. We want to do something with him. How about we put him in this part? We still like the idea, but not you. So Carl Reiner stuck around as producer, the producer. They cameo once in a while as Alan, as Alan Brady. Okay, so we're up to Victoria here. And I don't know that one, the Cattleman. Although I'll tell you one thing, when Rick Berman was explaining what DS9 was going to be about, he made a very good comparison. That if the original show was Wagon Train to the Stars, then this is going to be the Rifleman in space. Because he understood, he's understood what the picture's about. So yeah, this is but now it's pitching to the audience now, because I have a problem with anybody when they refer to the first episode as a pilot. It's not a pilot if the show's already sold. It's just the first episode. Pilots have a very specific job. They're to sell the idea of the show to the network or whoever's picking it up. So even Encounter at Farpoint is not a pilot. The show was already sold. So they're not selling anybody on the thing. It's already done. So where No Man has gone before and The Cage were pilots, because they're trying to sell the network on the idea of picking up the show and going with it. That's also why the timing is so good. The Cage ran for about an hour and 9 minutes. It wasn't intended to be aired. Okay. I have to track that down, I guess. But again, remember, for the most part, pilots are not really intended to be aired. That's not their job. Their job is to sell it to the network. Because again, a lot of times between the pilot and regular production, there are massive changes in cast, in costumes, and And my contention is that neither The Cage nor Where No Man's Gone Before were really intended to be aired. Which is why they felt fine going ahead with the massive changes in the costumes and the uniforms and the sets. And they only went ahead, but they only put Where No Man's, and they had to re-edit Where No Man's Gone Before. The opening titles and act changes were very different. It was more of like a Quinn Martin thing. Different theme music and everything. A different opening. So they had to rejigger that one, but they were in a desperate need for finished episodes. So it's kind of needed to be, but even then, at least they had Shatner and Nimoy in there, and Jimmy Doohan and George. So there was a little bit of continuity. They could squint and get away with it. But The Cage was because you only had Nimoy in the ship. And again, that one, they had a lot of, and the studio saying, we want to do something with this very expensive pilot you had us shoot. But there's no way, again, it ran for, the running time was over an hour. To fit into a network time slot, you had to whittle it down to 52 minutes. I tried. I tried to whittle that thing down to a workable form to fit on thing. No, you can't be done without gutting the entire episode. So the only solution to do that was what they did. Film extra stuff and make a two-parter out of it. And then that also accounts for, why you can account for changes in cast and setting, makeup. Okay, this was actually 13 years ago. And you can do some fun thing. And it's also part of why air date order is worthless. If you go by air date order, the Menagerie airs right after Court Martial. Both are set on Starbase 11. Did you even leave the system in between those episodes? So really, the only way to go in, when they went to syndication, they aired them whatever order they wanted to. Air date order is totally arbitrary. It was what's available now. What can be aired now? What is cut and scored and everything? And that's why we got Man Trap instead of the Corbett Maneuver. If Corbett Maneuver had gone on schedule and done, that would have been the first one, and that was essentially the third pilot right there. That's where you're introducing everything to the audience, and that's all there. It's all set up. Spock, what kind of guy is, what Kirk and Spock, McCoy and all that, and everyone is properly introduced and know their jobs, and it's all set up like a first episode. But those effects took forever, so it didn't air until halfway through the first season. But you really got to go by production order if you're going to do a proper analysis. Well, this kind it makes sense on paper to have staff writers. They have a writer's room, but the original series is it was all freelancers, and some stuff from inside, from Dorothy Fontana and Gene Coon, and but if Dorothy was still around, she could also tell you, dealing with freelancers is like trying to herd cats. Okay. The memos back and forth dealing with Richard Matheson on some of his ideas and Ted Sturgeon. It's like, did you even watch the show? What is this? But yeah, they need to bring in more, outside sort. You can't stop relying so much on your insular, cast guys, because they got their ideas, but they might be a little fossilized in their ideas. I don't know if he's seeing my question, because he's seen some stuff, but he's not responding to it. So I think I'm going to have to ask him when he's going to. I should be coming up soon, so I'm going to go ahead and get the headphones on here. And let me go ahead and get the camera on. What the bloody hell? Now it's working. He's big in fan circles, but I don't think, Well, it's gonna be one of those where it's like, all right. He won't be able to see me, but we'll be able to see him. So all right. So they're talking about Sean B. right now. Apparently Sean B. is the big for Yorkshire tea over there. So I don't know. Okay, we're almost there. I don't need the chat showing though. All right. Whoops. Okay. All right. Okay, we're almost getting there. So, okay. All right. I think he should agree to this. He should have no problem because they've been trying to hook up for a live stream for God knows how long. So we finally get something going here. I don't think he'll have a problem with her airing our little singer. I'm trying to figure out why the hell the camera's not working though. I mean, it's on. What? I don't know what's going on here. No, I can't hear her either. There we go. That's saying the connection's unstable. Oh, for crying out loud. Come on. All right, let's lose the HD. There we go. See if that works. God. I'm not going to another thing. I only got one camera. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. So it's going to be, like I said, we'll be able to see him. He won't be able to see us and see me. So, All right. Okay. Darth Plato pointed out there's no timekeeper, so yeah, so. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Oh boy. All right. Okay, should be in a minute here. No, I'm feel free to chime in. You want to do some questions fine here. So. I don't want to bring it. I already got connection problems right now. I don't want to bring anybody in just yet, but questions will be fine. Okay, here we go. Up next here. Okay. Well, there we go. I can't get the camera. Is it okay if I carry it on this part on my channel? So I can do that. All right, let's get this up here. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, once at the go-to, a stream with this guy, the Viceroy of Verisimilitude, the Duke of Dope Discord, the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, yeah, Robert Meyer Burnett, and let's see, I'm trying to find a good setup here. That'll work. Okay, that's fine. Figured after the wide-ranging discussion, let's keep this on Star Trek. Okay. Yes, and something we're not going to argue about so much. I think the other ones, yeah. So let's see what we know so far about the next movie. It's like, I'm thinking what they're gonna, because again, it looks like JJ's out finally. No more Calvin. Kurt's, yeah. My understanding is they're supposed to be off the lot by Christmas. Last season of Stranger World is like 6 episodes, so they just wrap it up and get the hell out. Academy, 2 seasons, but it's to justify the cost, and it's only 20 episodes, and the buzz is not good. Well, that's Strange New Worlds. Academy, it's Academy is going to be 210 episodes, so it's only 20 episodes. Not even first season original. So and apparently the studio's not impressed. The audience reaction is not good. I mean, it's like the trailers are being ratioed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's get that other one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I did. I'm not sure what the hell he is. Yeah. 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 I mocked up that picture of Houseman in a Starfleet uniform. That worked out pretty good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was thinking Roddenberry had been slapping back ideas about cadets on the ship, since they were, that's what brought him back to the Next Generation, because that's what they're planning on doing, is cadets on the Enterprise. And he said, I can do better than that now. Would you please? It's like, oh shit, they got me. Mm-hmm. 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 No. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they've had their musical episode, and they're going to get their puppet episode. So I don't think Josh is proud. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's also why the interview with J.J. Abrams should have ended. Well, I was never a Star Trek fan. Well, thanks for coming in. I got a line of directors that are hardcore Star Trek fans. They'll take this job in a heartbeat. Okay, I can get Ron Howard on the phone. He'll be here in a heartbeat. Okay. Like, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's like first 2 seasons of Picard. That was not Jean-Luc Picard. That was Patrick Stewart waiting to die. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Patrick Patrick Stewart has never had the greatest creative instincts. Frankly, yeah. Mm. Yeah. But I'm thinking going back to when he was at the Royal Shakespeare Company, his take on Shylock, it's like, I don't think I agree with this. I mean, he did a good job at it, but it's like, I go with David Suchet's version, because David Suchet is better informed because he is Jewish. Yeah. Yeah, it's like there was a series called Plain Shakespeare several years ago, and then when Stewart was still with the RSC, and there is a segment where it's just John Barton with David Suchet and Patrick Stewart, and they're basically dueling Shylocks, where they're playing back. They want to play the scene his way, and then come back. And it's like, I much prefer David Suchet's take, which he really leaned in a very heavy stereotypical, thing, whereas Stewart took the thing of trying to be as more English than the English type of thing, and he figured that stood as foreigner. That I don't know. It's like, because Suchet's Shylock was very diabolical, very cunning, whereas Patrick Stewart's Shylock just came across as slightly psychotic, which works, but yeah, and Barton directed both of them. They're both good performances, but it's like, which one works better? I think. But it's like, mm, yeah, mm-hmm, yeah, yeah, mm-hmm, yeah, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm, yeah, yeah. We study this shit. He just reads the lines and it's on to the next episode. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah, mm-hmm, yeah, yeah. At the premiere. Well, yeah, he's a. Mhm. Yeah, I kind of go through something at the beginning, not immediately. It'll be like something I'd done like 2 years ago, because some issue will come up. What are you doing a claim on this one? No one's watching this episode, this video anymore. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like the tagline was broadcast yourself. Well, I'm trying. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, super chats are operational, and feel free to throw money at me anytime you want, guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, my watch later list is growing by leaps and bounds. One of these days, I got, mm, and that still makes no sense to the general civilians. Mhm. And I don't think that helped. As far as the explanation goes, okay, you do that. I'll be in the next room consulting with legal authorities. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yikes. Yeah. No, and I'm getting the point. Hopefully, okay. It does now with now that we actually have people who. Mm, mm. No, it's been catering to mainstream dweebs who like it starts falling apart. They're on to the next. Yeah, they're on the next thing. Mm. Some shouldn't have been in the first place. Frankly, the Terminator should have been like 2 movies and done. You know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Salvation, the one where Christian Bale had his little meltdown. Yeah, that's probably more famous than the movie. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. That's like Aliens. Like, two was enough. Beyond that, it just further and further out the part. Resurrection is only good because you got a kind of prototype version of Firefly, because that's about it. No, we don't. We really don't. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the original plot on again, the original thing was the way in the original concept, the way they reproduced. There's a cut scene where they find Dallas and they're being turned into it. Well, it's there, but again, they were being turned. So all those eggs in there, that was the crew. One of the things got a hold of this, and they converted the entire crew into these eggs. So yeah. Well, it wasn't clear. That's part of the problem, but that was pretty much yeah. That's, mm-hmm, yeah, mm-hmm, yeah. Again, his first movie wasn't really fully formed. That's one thing Cameron did when he did the aliens. It's like, okay, no, like that doesn't work. It's like, let's put in a queen. Yeah. Mm. That's when Fortnite kicks in, next season, the DeLorean's one of the cars in there. It's like, okay. Glad when they brought in the Batmobile for, well, I'll go Batman. Okay, definitely. I would prefer the 66, but I'll take the 89. Mm-hmm. It can be, but it's going to require some attention. And thankfully, the guys in charge of Paramount now actually, okay, we like the show the way it was. We don't like what you're doing with that, Alex. So you're out. But mm-hmm, 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 yeah, that well, that kind of had to be forced, back then and now, because now it's real. It's always easy to give into the night. Oh, that's it. We're fucked. Shut it down. We're burning. So it's always trying to. There was a comment from Roddenberry. I think it's always harder to write optimistic stuff. It's easy to do the dystopian shit. Well, yeah, it was very. I mean, it was a leftist way of Kirk going out and fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. So, but like Shatner said, yeah, Roddenberry was a leftist. He was not a wokist. And he said when his commented that he'd be spinning his grave on what's going on now, Star Trek. If he hadn't been cremated. Well, I am working up to building my phaser rifle project, which is going to require a couple more of these 23rd century pistol kits. At least one original series with the idea they were going with, I think. And I've shown my idea to Bijo and to Mike Okuda. They both said, yeah, that looks about what they were going for with the phaser 1 and 2, because there's parts on the notes there where were parts for phaser forward clicking, where the rifle stock would click in. And also something that everyone misses, like when the hand grip attaches to the body, it's on a twist socket thing. Which thing? Yeah. Well, if you look on the bottom of it, there's a similar socket on the bottom of the hand grip, which tells me that the capability is there to stick another one on there. And I figured, okay, and I bat around a few ideas. I finally figured, wait a minute. You got to think cheap. And again, that's one of the reasons why reading the making of Star Trek is because I look at it from a producer's standpoint and think it's like, how would we do this on this budget? And I think what they would do is they take existing, couple of grips out there, or fabricate a couple more grips. That's your stock, and put a butt plate on the end of it. Stick a couple of them on there, and you got, and yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, and basically would have been Star Trek's answer to the special Uncle Gun, because Star Trek was chasing Uncle for quite a bit. I think that's also why Chekhov became Russian, because it was like, Well, that they were not watching Star Trek over the Soviet Union and then behind the wall. That was Roddenberry fancy, because when Walter Kennedy came in, the character was not Russian. It was I think they were definitely going for the Davy Jones thing. But then somewhere Roddenberry, hey, we they're doing good with David McCallum's over there becoming a big hit over Uncle. Why don't we have a Russian? They were the first in space. Let's acknowledge them, and then and suddenly Benson or whatever it became Chekhov, and okay, they were off to the races. Of course, then Kennedy didn't know he had the part told. Bill Thice is down measuring his inseam. Hey, what are you doing? But didn't they tell you? I'm measuring for your costume. All righty, and hopefully we can do a little longer this time and more structured. All right. Okay, have fun. Okay. All right, and let's go ahead and get out of that. Okay, so I will get that back on. So I will I'll clip that later and put a little more digestible form and some proper titles. Like I said, I think this probably shoots my hours for live streaming for a while. I'm gonna listen until I can knuckle on and go back on the paid plan, which I need to eventually anyway. If we're going to do the karaoke thing, I need to do all the bells and whistles, because we can't do it with just only and I can't access any of the media stuff. So with that, we will talk. Let me go ahead. I put the opening. I'll go and put the closing up here. And where are you? Here we are. And so we will talk at you later.